trade-off from safety to security, right? When you have these free speech things, there is a trade-off. You obviously recognize that. So when talking about the enforcement of the efficacy of these things, when you say we shall not commit doxing, right? That is an ethical consideration that normatively, I think as a society, we all would say is not a good thing. But should we have the government enforce it? Should we have the platforms enforce it? Should we individually enforce it? Have enforcement?
Obviously, I think it all starts at home, right? It all starts at home, and with the individual, I should say, and that we should enforce it for ourselves. We need to have moral compasses. We need to have an ethical set of guidelines that we live by. I think that's important. But failing that, I don't think it's the government's. It's not their place to say, "Hey, you can't do this," because the government is there to provide security, safety, and all these nice things to us, but I don't think it's there to be in any state. And that's the problem with a lot of European governments, where they're acting like they're your parents, and they're saying, you can't say these things because it might hurt somebody's feelings. I mean, that's how bad it's gotten in some places. I think in Austria, where someone criticized, there's a free speech issue right now, somebody criticized Islam, and he got charged by the government for basically hate speech, because that's how they operate. So that's an issue, right? That's an issue. But I don't see that happening in America. I don't see that happening in Canada or a lot of other places. But so I don't think that should be the norm. I don't think the government should step in and say, hey, you can't say these things. But I do think that as a society, at least, if you're running a platform, then you probably don't want a lot of Nazis on it, right? You probably don't want a lot of Nazis screaming for the deaths of Jews. Otherwise, you turn into Gab, and no one else wants to use Gab. So it's really, honestly, in your own interest to make sure that your platform doesn't become a haven for Nazis, because no one else is going to go there. So you don't want to cater to that unless you yourself might be a Nazi. So, that's the thing. That's
if you're trying to promote that. If you're trying to promote Nazism, then that's what you're doing. But however,
exactly.
I'm
not saying that Gab promotes Nazism. I'm not saying he does, right? But he clearly, he dog whistles to them once in a while. He does that, and then he acts like, oh, I didn't say anything. Yeah, okay.
Fair
it's clear that that's where he thinks his audience is, yeah.
Germany has laws against free speech, right? Real quick, Germany has certain laws against free speech when it comes to things you can and cannot do related to Nazism, right? And Destiny had noted...
That is correct.
Destiny had noted there is maybe possible argumentation before if somebody has hate speech, if somebody is inciting these things, if somebody's promoting Nazism, why can't we have laws or... the ability to say, you know what, we don't allow that in society. Go ahead, Destiny.
I just wanted to speak real quickly on the Australian thing. It sounds like in Australia, what they were looking to do is pass laws against religious vilification, which I think falls under...
Oh, this is Austria, not Australia. Yeah.
Oh, you said Austria? My bad. Okay.
Yeah, Austria. Yeah.
Ian, real quick, what's your reaction to when Destiny says that someone like Richard Spencer deserves to get, attacked in public if that happens? What's your reaction to that? Do you agree?
Real quick, just to be clear there, I didn't say deserves to. I said that some people could be ethically justified in doing it. I just want to be really clear there. So,
go
ahead.
My apologies.
I don't disagree with that. I think that people can be ethically justified to attack someone whom they perceive as being a threat, like an existential threat to them. So the guy who punched him, I don't know who he is. I don't know what his background is. Maybe he's a persecuted minority. I have no idea, right? But maybe he definitely may have had ethical justification in doing so, but I would not do it myself. I would not support that, because I think that, punching Richard Spencer only gave him a larger platform. So I'm looking at the bigger picture, but I can see the argument being made, and I find it very hard to disagree with. If someone is saying something that is riling other people up and saying that, a group of people should be killed, and you maybe happen to be part of that group of people, or maybe you're an ally to that group of people, maybe you just don't like seeing these things being said, then there is ethical justification, although it is illegal, obviously, because it's assault. So
right,
they're two different things.
Let me ask Destiny, what's your opinion on the Alex Jones situation when he was deplatformed? Do you think that it was they should have done that? Not a good because we know they could.
Yeah, so I have no sympathy for bad faith actors. People that intentionally spread misinformation, I aggressively think should be permanent or deplatformed for long periods of time before ever being allowed back into the public space. I don't think there is any tangible or intangible good offered by these types of people. I think there is tangible harm done by these types of people. And I think that the sooner we get rid of these types of people from the public sphere, the better. Because right now, most of the conversations that we're having publicly aren't even like related to anything existing in reality. We can't have real conversations about anything in reality anymore because we can't even agree what the fuck is real. Like, let's talk. Like, if we want to have a conversation about immigration in Europe, there's a lot of conversation to be had there. Did Sweden take on too many Muslims to their country, from different parts of the world? Yeah, probably. Is Sweden a literal shithole that is on fire with grenades being thrown into family cars and everything? No, what the fuck are you talking about? That's ridiculous. Are there massive amounts of rape gangs running around all over Germany raping thousands of people? No, this is fucking absurd. So like the fact that we can't even get to real conversations because there are so many bad faith actors that are spreading misinformation is just so fucking frustrating to me. And it has made me lose so much faith in any sort of democratic idea of government because people seem incapable of separating out bullshit from real actual information.
And Ian, what do you say to that?
Well, I largely agree with them. My issue here is that if we could have, like, I don't know, an arbiter of some sort, someone who is like 100% objective to decide what is real and what's not, I'd be totally down for that. The problem is the people who want to institute these controls to regulate what other people are saying, right? Whether they're telling the truth or whether they're lying, because I think it is important to call out liars. I mean, that's what I do all the time. Destiny does it all the time himself in his own way, right? He calls out right-wing liars. I call some left-wing liars. We do that thing. The problem is somebody, might decide that our truth, like not our truth, but like the truth is not true because he's got his own version of the truth, right? Some dude might think, hey, Destiny's a dangerous person. We need to knock him off of Twitter, because he's saying things that, that are problematic or that they are, very uncomfortable to the truth that they are trying to tell, their narrative. And maybe that's why he's banned from Twitter. I don't know. That's the issue. Like maybe some guy on the alt left, or whatever you want to call them, Antifa, gets pissed off that I reported that Antifa did so and so. They might want to knock me off because my truth is not my truth, but rather the truth, the one I'm reporting, is very inconvenient to them, right? So that's the issue. It's like who gets to decide who gets to speak and who doesn't. That's the problem.
Okay, but I think there are cases where it is very clear, like, what's going on. Like, there are certain types of people that exist in online communities, like, that are very clearly bad faith actors. Like, Ian, I have consistently identified you as one of these horrible fucking people, and you do this shit all the fucking time. Like, how many times will you post like a picture of an article and it's clear you haven't even read it, and then you make some like alarmist headline based on the article? Like, you do this shit all the time.
I used to do that a lot, I admit. I stopped doing it.
When you say used to, you mean like this year, right?
Yeah.
Or did you turn over a new leaf like a month ago, or?
Not a month. I mean like more recently than that. I can't put an exact date on it, but yeah, I was very into the whole political thing, and it was very easy to get caught up in the narrative. I don't know. I was doing the whole Saul Alinsky thing, and I don't like that stuff anymore. I don't think it's very honest. When people decide, oh, hey, I'm going to be dishonest as the other guys, or how I perceive them, right? That's the game that a lot of people are playing. You notice that on the right wing, sometimes they have the upper hand, but then they kind of ruin it by doing something really stupid. And I'm not for that anymore. I don't think that's effective. I found that to be, in fact, alienating to a lot of my audience. I found that to be, it's just untrue, flat out untrue. And it creates bizarre narratives. I mean, that's why things are as fucked up as they are, because everybody wants to play that Saul Alinsky game where they're trying to one-up each other on dishonesty. And I'm not part of that anymore. I'm out.
Okay. Let's see if we can find a point where you guys don't necessarily agree so much. Let's go switch to your strong suit, which is gaming. And Ian, we had you on before to kind of talk about this briefly, but the PC culture in gaming and how it's in terms of
PC, like political correctness.
Yes. In terms of what about women, we spoke about women, how women are portrayed in games, and certain in a certain light, and how there was a side of people that didn't necessarily agree that was the way to go. Destiny, what are your views on that? What's your views on?
I'll let Ian go first on this one. Okay.
Okay. Ian.
Yeah. Do you want to just ask me the question? I mean, what's the question here? What do you want me to say?
There's a lot of pushback on games nowadays, saying that women are being sort of exposed. I guess.
Oh, okay.
They're being stereotyped.
I think the complaints are. I think the complaints are largely hyperbolic, because I see a lot of female representation in games. At least the past few years, at least since 2014, we've seen a lot of women being represented in games, whether it's multiplayer games like Overwatch or League of Legends, or whether it is single-player games like Tomb Raider, or even Red Dead Redemption 2. Even though it doesn't have a main, like you don't play a female character. Sadie Adler is the main female character, and she's fantastic. I mean, her story's fantastic. So to say that women aren't really getting representation, I don't think that's true. Could women get more representation? Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing that in The Last of Us 2. The main character is Ellie, right? You're playing as the daughter of the first character, right? The stepdaughter. So I'm happy to see that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I do think that some people are blowing it out of proportion when they say that women are not getting proper representation, or when they complain about the depiction of women in games, and they're saying that Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider doesn't need to be violent, and that we need to censor it out. And as a matter of fact, the game was censored because of that Polygon article. A guy on Polygon wrote that the game was too violent, and that it showed Lara Croft dying horribly, and it was so unnecessary. It's 2018, and so on and so forth, and so we need to censor it. And so they actually did that, and the game's not really getting any good reviews because of that, because of things like that. I mean, it's already a sort of a mediocre game to begin with, but the fact that they tried to pander to some game journalists in order to, I don't know, like they thought maybe it increased their sales. It didn't. Clearly didn't. If you look at the Steam reviews, they're pretty negative because of the censorship. They removed all the blood and all that. So I think that the market does speak very loudly, and the market is more than happy, to see female characters. And look at Horizon Zero Dawn. It had a main female character. It was celebrated both by gamers as well as, game journalists who thought it was a really woke game, even though it really wasn't. It was not a political game at all. It just had a main female character. And then we're seeing the same thing with Last of Us 2. I mean, I'm excited to play it. Yeah, there are a handful of YouTubers who will bitch and moan about how, it's got a woman on it, therefore it's an SJW thing. But that's ridiculous. I think those people need to, maybe check themselves, because everything to them is SJW. And I think that's ridiculous. Not everything's SJW. Some things clearly are. When you see, Battlefield 5, it's got a woman on the front cover, and it's a World War II game. It's clear who they're trying to virtue signal to, right? It's clearly not gamers. It's the people in the games journalism industry who like seeing that thing and celebrate it. But does it actually reflect well for sales? No, it doesn't. The market speaks loudly, and the market says, hey, we're not interested in this. We just want a war game. And you guys are clearly going out of your way to piss us off. You're trying to, they did go out of their way to piss people off. They said that, well, if you don't like seeing women in video games, you don't buy our game. And it's sort of like cast everyone who wanted like a sort of like a semi-realistic World War II game as a misogynist, right? That's the thing that happened. And that clearly alienated a lot of the fans, the core fans, who just want to play the game because it's a war game. So I do think that, it's important to have representation, because, I mean, if you can fit representation in, why the hell not? It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't hurt anybody, right? It's cool to have many different interesting characters. And, sometimes you can tell really good stories like Horizon Zero Dawn or the original Tomb Raider. You can have main female characters, no big deal. But then the instant you try to force it in, like Battlefield 5, it backfires on you. Why not do it like Call of Duty Black Ops 4? Half the characters there are female. No one's complaining about it because it's just a good game. They don't shove their gender identity politics in your face. They're just like, oh, yeah, those are badass women. Okay, cool. That's it.
Okay. Destiny.
I guess one of the things I don't understand is, like, why is it that just having a woman in a trailer is like shoving politics of somebody's faces? Why can't they just be in the trailer and be a woman?
I don't agree with that.
I don't think it's that's fine. If it's just a woman's whatever. The problem is they try to tout it as historically authentic. So and when people say, well, this is not historically authentic, there are no women wearing like.
Wait, when has a Battlefield game ever been like historically authentic?
That's what they claim for this one. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've ever been historically authentic, but that was what they were marketing on. Yeah.
I think the term is immersion.
And when people,
right? You want to be immersed into the history.
Immersion, yeah. I mean, like, I talked to a lot of people who are not gamers, and they were confused by why there was a woman on the cover of a World War II game. They're like, well, obviously women were in the war. They were Russian snipers, and here's the thing that I talked to a lot of people about this, and they said that, like, and this is how I feel as well. It'd be okay if you had a Russian sniper in the game who was a woman, like maybe even a battalion of them. There was, in fact, a battalion of them, right? Finnish snipers, Russian snipers, half of them were women. No one would be opposed to that. But when you have a woman who's got like an arm that's like cybernetic, in real life, one of those arms that you see in Battlefield, they don't actually work. You can't actually grip things with it. They're just hooks, right? They're just prosthetic. They don't do anything. But in the trailer, it's like she's firing a gun with it, and it's like, what's going on here? I mean, so clearly you're trying to virtue signal, and it's ridiculous.
So this is always really strange